Hello and welcome to Our Turf Podcast Tuesday. I am Lisa Johnson, joined by Kate, Michelle, and Sonia, who you can't see but definitely
But
can
I'm here.
hear. She is here. And we are going to talk about coaching carousels, the Super Bowl, which coaches got shafted, which coaches should have got hired, which coaches didn't get hired. So we're going to run the whole gamut. But first, I want to thank our sponsors, Donkey's Cheesesteak, top 5 cheesesteaks in New Jersey. 3 locations, Camden, Medford, and their brand new Mount Holly. One of the best cheesesteaks around. So you guys go tell them that the Our Turf Girls sent you, and they're going to hook you up. So there's going to be Donkey's Cheesesteak, Donkey Cheesesteaks 2, Donkey's 2, Medford, Camden, and Mount Holly. So first we are going to hit. Let me see. Dana sent us, and Dana is unfortunately not feeling very well. So she went ahead and set us our show. So we're going to talk about the coaching carousels first. The biggest surprise coaches on the hire, of course, we all know about the Brian Flores thing going on. But the Texans were the latest by hiring their defensive coordinator, Lovie Smith, which kind of surprised me. So I'll kind of turn it over to Kate and get her ideas on what did you think about the Lovie Smith hiring in Texas?
I'm torn.
Agreed.
I'm torn. I feel like he had his time, right? Like he was one of my favorites when he was coaching, and I think he's got a lot to offer, and maybe his time away from being a head coach taught him a few things about how to deal with the, shall we say, political aspects of being a head coach. I don't love it. As much as I love Lovie, I don't love it. And not for the Texans. Not with the hot mess that's going on in there right now.
He was a part of that mess. That's what kind of threw me. I was surprised. And then of course, the Brian Flores came out and wished him well, but then again said, I was obviously the better coach choice, which was, there's a lot of stuff going on with that.
Graham.
Michelle, what'd you think?
I think it was a surprise to everyone. And I think, from a standpoint of the Brian Flores lawsuit is as if they're saying, okay, we're not going to hire you, but we're going to hire another black coach. And we're going to hire someone who actually has been a coach and he has a resume. So, it was an easier hire. It was a scapegoat to me. Now, is Lovie Smith qualified to coach? Yes, he is. We know it. He took Rex Grossman to the Super Bowl. Yeah, everybody hear that? He can. So he deserves. And
don't disrespect Sexy Rexy.
I'm just saying. And the NFL, recycles coaches all the time. It's usually not black coaches, but coaches who haven't done so well are recycled all the time. The Bears did fire Lovie Smith after a 10-6 record. Who knows? They haven't quite done much since. They've almost made it back to the NFC Championship, but they haven't done quite much. So but I think that the Texans hired Lovie with the intent to not keep him. He'll be there until all this dies down, and then they'll get rid of him. They'll find a reason, and then they'll hire Josh McCown, which is who they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Sonia?
I agree wholeheartedly with Michelle. He is a stopgap. And I agree with Graham. Can you put? Oh, I think I can put Graham's. Yeah, I can put Graham's comment on the thing. I agree 100%. Lovie Smith and Brian Flores all day long for that one. I think they did want to go Josh McCown, but with all the dumpster fire that's going on down in Texas, I think they just felt like they quote unquote had to do something. So. Lovie, come on up. You're our guy now. Wait, what? I think he can hopefully help this team, but ownership's going to really have to, give him his due and just let him, do his thing. But will that really happen with the Texans? Probably not. I agree with Michelle that it'll probably just be a couple years, and then they'll find some kind of way to mutually part ways. I'm doing my air quotes, and yeah, that's it.
Because I know that Josh McCown, grooming it. he just was green. I knew they were high on him, and I still think they are. I still think, like you said, I still think they want him to get a couple years experience before they just throw him into the head coaching thing. Because I mean, that's the talk of everybody saying is that they wanted Josh, but just felt that he didn't have the experience, and that, you know, they brought Lovey on, you know, and we don't know. I don't know how interested they were in Brian Flores. I don't know, you know, it's hard to say. I mean, you know, Brian chose his path. He even said that he knew he was probably going to burn his career by stepping forward and doing this. So, you know, it was just kind of interesting to me that, you know, there's so many other head coaches, and that's what we're going to, and it's going to tie right into Sonia's next thing that she kind of wanted to lead off, because I believe it was John that just said this, Sonia. He basically says, this is what they are. Brian Leftwich and Eric Bieniemy are still not head coaches. That's a problem. So I'll go ahead and let you kind of just, you know, take over the Brian or the Eric Bieniemy talk of why isn't he a head coach? Honestly, why isn't?
Well, when we're
Eric
done, can we go
Bieniemy
back
a
to
head
Josh
coach?
McCown?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, well,
We can go back to it.
Okay, that's fine. You know, I think Eric Bieniemy is a good coach, and you know, I really wish that he did get a chance. But sometimes I kind of am glad that he doesn't get a chance right now, just because I think all the pressure would be on him. And if he loses a game, or if there is one thing that happens that normally happens anyplace else, it's going to get blown up in his face. And, you know, he's not going to go to a franchise that, you know, is going to be patient with him or anything like that. I think it's just going to be a dumpster fire, honestly. And, you know, it's just going to blow up in his face, and everybody's going to be like, see, he wasn't a good coach. So, yeah, the Eric Bieniemy experience is done. And I don't think that that would be fair to him, because he's much better than that. And so I feel like he kind of has to be selective in the job that he takes and in the people that he is going to be able to work with and things like that. So that's why I'm not 100% upset that he's not a head coach yet. I think that there would be a lot to go into that. So that's my thought.
What team do you think would have been a good fit for him? I mean, apparently none of the ones that were hiring.
I honestly thought that the Saints would probably be the best, because I think, I mean, even though, again, it is kind of a dumpster fire, they don't really have too much in place, but he could be able to, you know, draft some guys and start to rebuild and kind of, you know, get the Saints together. And that would be a really good thing, because everybody loves the Saints and everybody loves them. Well, okay, except for Falcon fans. But everybody loves the Saints. And when they're doing good, they're doing great. So I think that really would have been a really good landing spot for him.
Cool.
The Saints. Every time I think of the Saints, all I think about it, I hear Dana's voice. 75 million over the cap. That's all I hear. Honestly, that's all I hear is 75 million. And going back to Luke, Michelle and I talked about just a little bit brief before the show of Eric Bieniemy's college days and his arrests, and whether we think that has anything to do with why he isn't a head coach because of some of the things that happened in his past.
I think that they're using it as an excuse to say why he's not a head coach. I don't think there are legitimate reasons for him not to be one. And the man is 51 years old. I mean, those things happened when he was a kid, and some of those things are what, alcohol and getting arrested for being drunk or having a fight or something. I mean, he didn't kill anybody. And he, you know, I don't think he raped anybody. I don't think it was charges like that. So we're talking about things that teenagers, that college kids do. And he's in Colorado, for Christ's sake. So those are not reasons to hold him back. But for some reason, they don't want to hire him. And you cannot tell me that all of these teams, including the Dolphins, these teams who want offensive-minded coaches, he would not be your number one option with what he's done in Kansas City. And we don't know if he's going to be a good coach. We never know if any of these coordinators are going to be good head coaches, but we have to give him the opportunity to show him. And the more they don't hire him, the more it hurts his chances later on down the line to get a coaching job, because people think something's wrong. Mm-hmm. So much so that Andy Reid had to come out and actually get on TV and say he's calling the plays. So, you know, to negate that, because people were saying he doesn't call the plays.
I mean, he's been in Kansas City since 2013. I mean, it's not like he just got there, and he's been their offensive coordinator since 2018, which is really when Patrick Mahomes, the last 3-4 years, that offense has been insanely robust, and he gets the credit for that. I don't think his arrests and whatever that stuff is relevant. If they're using that as an excuse not to hire him, I would really like to know what the real problem is, because I see nothing in his history that would put up a red flag on why I wouldn't want him head coaching my team. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I got you. Well, the last three hires, the last coaching carousel, everybody's done now. We had Jacksonville that hired Doug Peterson, former Eagles quarterback. We had the Miami Dolphins, who went with Mike McDaniel, the offensive coordinator for the San Francisco, who everybody is, like Dana just said, who's calling the hipster. He's
hipster.
Hey man, how you doing? Well, the thing with me is, he's exciting. I mean, you always support. I'll always support whatever coach they bring in. But just listening to him on the plane talking to Tua, he seems like he's going to be that player's coach, like, because he's like, oh hey man, are you excited, dude? We're gonna, it doesn't seem like he's that, like the Brian Flores or the Mike Tomlin, the coaches that are like iron fist guys that this is if you don't coach is the boss. He almost seems like he's going to be their buddy, their pal. The way he's kind of talking to him, it's kind of hard to kind of like place it. So I don't know. I'm like 50-50 on the guy. I just, I don't know if I want a coach that's a leader, a leader of men. That leadership quality, is it important? Is it, do you want a coach that's your buddy, that's your friend, or do you want a coach that fists with that coaches with an iron fist?
I think you find that out if he starts winning. Then they'll say that's what they wanted. That's what they needed. I mean, they wanted an offensive guy, and they want somebody, I think, that was fairly new to being a coach as well. So I mean, they have an offensive guy. They had a defensive guy that didn't work out. Now they have an offensive guy. Hopefully that'll work out for them. But I think Tomlin is a little bit, from what I hear, he's a little bit of both. I mean, he shows us one thing, but he's kind of, he can relate to the coaches, but he demands the respect, the players, but he demands the respect from them. So, because he was a very young head coach. So
I just keep getting confused with all the names, because there's Josh McDaniels, and then there's Mike McDaniels, and then the Ravens hired Mike McDonald as their defensive coordinator. And I'm like, I have to keep checking my list. Like, which M&M is which Mac are we talking about now? It's just maybe Eric Bieniemy needs to change his name to Mac Bieniemy.
Or
then he get hired.
And then he get hired.
Merrick.
Or Eric McDaniel.
Eric McDaniels.
All right, here, look, Dana. This is Dana with him, with Mike McDaniel of the from the 49ers. He did a good job, Jimmy G. Did he? Jimmy G threw a touchdown on the last play that would have brought the 49ers to the Super Bowl. That's not a good job.
Well,
threw an interception, not a touchdown. And I love that she groomed Jimmy G, because I thought he developed a Jimmy G.
Jimmy played well.
Jimmy.
Until the last series when the team needed him.
Jimmy did what Jimmy do.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He played well. Until the last play. I mean, he could have ate it, and then they would have had like 4th and 30, and then, and maybe they make it. But if they didn't, they still weren't going to Super Bowl, which, I'm happy about. So.
And that brings us right into the next one. Super Bowl picks, predictions. Like I said, we talked. To me, it's offense and defense. To me, I got into a long conversation with it, and I already know Michelle's thing. I'm not even going to say defenses do that thing that they do. I'm done saying it. But I'm going to go with the Bengals. I think the kid can get sacked 8 times and still win a game. And they were down 18 points to Kansas City. There's no quit in this team. And they're a 4th quarter team. So I'm going to take the Bengals, and I'm going to say offenses win championships in this round.
Michelle, defense wins championships.
So I'll
I'm
go
not
next,
saying it.
guys. So the thing is, I think that defense does win championships, and I think that the Rams have the better defense.
Agreed.
But I also believe that the Bengals defense has been kind of winning these games for them. Their special teams and their defense is what's been winning those games. They're going to talk to Joe Burrow because he's the media darling, but their defense stepped up in the last game. And their special team, they had that field goal kicker. I mean, he is ice cold, baby. I love him. And I'm going to tell you, I think the Rams, I think McVay learned a few things from the last time he was in the bowl. And I think if you look at the game against the 49ers, that defense stepped up big time behind Aaron Donald. So I think that, but I want the Bengals to win. And I'm going to say why. It's because of Ken Riley, who played for the Bengals back in the day, and he passed away in June of 2020. And he was my boss actually when I started working in sports information at FAMU. And they've been trying to get him into the Hall of Fame. I wanted him to be in the Hall of Fame, and he hasn't. He died without being there. He was like fourth in interception. So I'm kind of going for the Bengals. So I'm gonna say I'll go ahead and pick the Bengals since that's what I'm going for, and I'm gonna say the Bengals are gonna win on a field goal, and I'll go 27-24.
Dang, we're going close.
I agree. It's going to be close. I want Matt Stafford to get his ring. That's just me. But I think that the Rams have the better defense. I think that you can't count the Bengals out, so that's why I think it's going to be real close. But I think that the Rams are just going to have that little bit of more of an it factor. They mortgaged, like John said, they mortgaged their franchise's future to be in this game. And so I think that that's going to get them hopefully playing on another level. But either way, whoever wins, I am going to be happy just because it's two different teams. But I really do think the Rams are going to win. So I'm going to go 27-24 Rams.
Ooh.
27-24 Rams?
Kate?
Yeah.
Kate, what's the score? Kate, you got to give a score. Now I'm going to have to go back and give a score. So I got to think about it. So I'm going to let you give a score. And what do you think?
All right. I'm not giving a score because I suck at it. I know the Rams have the better. Fine, I'll give a score. I know the Rams have the better defense, but from a statistical standpoint, because I'm a numbers girl, the Rams had the 5th best defense in the NFL. The Bengals were 12th. There is not that much separating the two of them. What I like about the Bengals is they don't know when they're done. In that Kansas City game, they were down and they were being written off by people who were shutting off their TVs. And the team itself was like, it ain't over till it's over. Like there's no quit in that team. There's something about what Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are doing as a duo that is just so much fun to watch. And there's just no lead that's safe. And Sonia, love you. I don't trust Matt Stafford not to do what Jimmy did. I don't trust him not to throw that big interception that changes the momentum of that game and flips everything the wrong way. As much of a feel-good story as he is, I'm going Bengals. And it's seriously, it's not because I'm mad at OBJ, and it's not because there are like 18 former Ohio State Buckeyes on the Bengals team. And it's not because they're in my division and they're playing in my state and it's really Ohio against the Rams. It is legit football. I think their defenses are close enough. I think there's just, Sonia, you talked about that it thing with the Rams. I think the Bengals have it. I just don't they're not smart enough to know when they're out.
Right.
They just keep playing and teams keep letting them back in. And so I'm going Bengals, and I think I think the halftime score is going to be nothing like the final score. I think it's whatever way it goes. I think it'll be similar to that Kansas City game. And I'm going to go Bengals 35, Rams 27.
Ooh.
I'm going 28 Cincinnati, 21 Rams. So I'm going to say it's 28-21.
I think it's a touchdown.
So, and I'm with Kate. I honestly think the Rams are going to be leading at halftime, and then I think the Bengals are going to come on. I do. I still think the same thing. I think because that is their MO the whole year has been, because like I said, everybody you talk to that game that we thought was done. It's like, oh, great, here goes Kansas City. This game is over, and it's just not over. And they're, like I said, they halftime adjustments are great. Their defense adjustments were great.
Yes.
And then you said you have that Matt Stafford.
Well, so the other thing they do is if you look at Joe Mixon's stats, the running back stats, they do what the Browns tried to do this year and couldn't do. They run the ball a lot early, tire that defensive line so that their running game is more effective in the second half. But because they're down a lot, you've got to throw the ball, and they've got Jamar Chase to get those big plays, which then spreads that defense and makes the defense back up, which then late third, early fourth quarter opens that running game again. And so they're able to come back from getting down heavy without no problems. Exactly. They just keep playing. They play 60 minutes of football. I think of the games I watched this year, and y'all know I watched a lot of games, they've given me 60 minutes of football more often than anybody else.
And I think that they have the qualities that, to me, my qualities for winning a championship is defense, being able to run the ball, and having a special teams, because those are the things that come up. You have to be able to run the ball to control the clock. You have to be able to run the ball to tire the defense out for the fourth down. You have to be able to play defense, because that game is going to come down to somebody making a stop.
Yep.
And your defense has to step up to do that. And then you're going to need a big kick. Now, as much as we say they got one job, their one job is very important.
It is.
You're going to need it. You need it in the playoffs. So, those are the things.
And that rookie kicker of theirs,
fearless.
He's got stones.
Yeah.
He does.
He doesn't know enough to be freaked out. McPherson just doesn't know enough to be freaked out in the moment and let the pressure get to him. He's just like, I'm gonna get this. Okay. And then he does.
Yeah, they're gonna have to block it for him to miss it.
Yep.
Yeah. Whatever way it goes, I think it's gonna actually be a really good game.
Yeah.
And I, for one, am excited to see two new teams in the Super Bowl. I am so sick of the Patriots and the Chiefs and the teams that are there a lot. I love that these two teams haven't been here, haven't been to the championship game, haven't been to the conference championship games. It's a sign, again, to remind me as a Browns fan and Sonia as a Lions fan that you really can turn your season around and go from a 6-win team to the Super Bowl in the NFL. Yeah. If your front office is doing it right, if you have the right coach, if you have the right quarterback, if you have the pieces right, you really can turn it around pretty quickly.
And I think that's the other reason I'm going for the Bengals, because they haven't won.
Yeah.
I like to see new teams win when it's not my team. Unless they were playing the Cowboys, then I wouldn't go for them. But so I think it's going to be exciting. I'm ready. And the halftime show. Oh my God! Did we talk about the halftime show?
Wait.
Oh my God! I think it's going to be absolutely fabulous. I can't wait.
Cannot wait, especially if Eminem.
A lot of smoke in the halftime show.
Yes.
Kyler Murray and Aaron Rodgers changing teams.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, it's kind of what Graham said. He said that because apparently I'll kind of fill everybody in that might not have heard. Apparently, Kyle Murray has wiped his social media, Twitter, IG, every account he has. He apparently has wiped out all Arizona Cardinal stuff, which has caused a huge debate on what's going
back
on.
to the A's. He's just going to play baseball now.
Oh, is it? He's done, right?
Yeah,
Do the A's still own him?
Yeah.
Do the A's still have the rights to him?
I think.
I don't know how that works in baseball.
I think they do until as long as he plays. As long as he decides to play. I would go back to baseball.
I would too.
I mean, it made sense for him to come out and play football. Football's a young man's game. Football is definitely a young man's game, so it made sense for him to play football.
Mm-hmm. But now,
unlike some quarterbacks, Brandon Whedon, who played baseball for 10 years and then tried to come to Cleveland and be my quarterback. Reverse it. Play football when you're young, then play baseball when you're older.
Mm-hmm.
That would be something. So where is Rodgers going?
That would be. Rodgers going to Tampa.
Switch teams.
I think Bruce Arians going to go after Rodgers.
He's going to get Rodgers?
Why?
I do. I think Bruce Arians is going after Rodgers.
Man.
Yep, I do. Because I think he knows that. Yep. Yep, he knows because he had Tom, and Tom took him to the Super Bowl. Aaron wants to go to a team that is going to have a shot. That team's still stacked. That team still has, they went deep into the playoffs. Bruce Aaron, just a quarterback away. I think Bruce is going to make a play for him, and I think Rodgers is going to listen because I think they have the talent there that's going to make him raise his eyebrow of, can I win a championship down in Florida? Seriously,
I was going to say I would love to see him in a Saints uniform, but they're $75 million over the cap already. They can't afford him,
and he wants to go to a team though that is away. He wants another Super Bowl before. That's what they're saying.
But if the Saints had a quarterback, if Aaron Rodgers was their quarterback, they could get the couple other things they needed very easily. But again, they're $75 million over the cap.
But Tampa Bay is Super Bowl ready. They were.
They are, but does he want to? Does he want to play where Tom Brady played?
He wants a ring. I don't think he cares. He's so arrogant. He probably wants to show us I can do the same thing with that team.
Exactly. That's why I think it's a great fit.
Yeah.
I do. He's arrogant enough, just like to do it.
Oh, he is arrogant enough. And what's up with his hair? What was?
But name it.
My girly comment for the day. The hell was up with his hair this season?
Who?
Aaron Rodgers. Well, I don't even know what to do with the facial, but then every once in a while his hair would be back in this little teeny tiny, this like ponytail thing that stuck out like, dude.
Isn't that the new thing? The man bun?
That is not a man bun.
That's not a man bun.
That is not a man bun.
Knob. That's a pony knob.
That's all.
It's not cute. But Aaron is.
He had it on Jeopardy too.
Maybe he will go to Tampa because he looks like a beach bum.
He does look like a beach bum.
I disagree, John. I think he would do well. I think he'd do well in Tampa.
Man bun.
Yep.
Everything is there for him.
I do. I can't think of another team that is that ready. What other team could you think is just a quarterback away from going to the Super Bowl?
Well, that's the thing is
who's a little smarmy.
Close, but needs a quarterback.
Smarmy.
Who needs a quarterback that has the talent?
I was about to say, I'm with Danny. He's going to Denver.
Titans?
The 49ers, but I don't know if he'd go to the 49ers.
Titan fans are very unhappy. Very unhappy with Ryan.
See,
Tennessee is warmer. Tennessee is warmer. You know what? He would fit in very well as a beach bum.
We've been saying he's going to Denver for a while, so I do,
but I just think Bruce is going to make a play. Bruce knows now. Bruce knows what it takes to go to a Super Bowl. It takes almost an elite quarterback, and he knows. There's nobody right now. He has nobody. So I think he's going to make a play for him. I really do. I would not be surprised.
I think you can go without an elite quarterback. Let's look at the two teams this year. But I think what Bruce knows is if he plugs an elite quarterback into a system that has worked really well with an elite quarterback, that it'll work.
Maybe he'll go to Washington.
Wow, just letting the
Have we talked about the new name for that team?
The Commies?
Did I miss
the Commodores?
The Commodores? The Commodores? The Commandos? What?
The Commanders.
We waited all this time.
Whatchamacallits.
The whatchamacallits?
Yeah, that's what we call
I'm just gonna keep calling them the
We're gonna call them
WTFs.
the commies because everything gets shortened.
The Commanders.
I mean,
How about we
Commanders.
just call them whichever
two
Commanders
huge
we spit off,
teams.
That's their name.
The baseball team in Cleveland and the football team in Washington. Exactly. That made a big deal about changing their names, and they both suck.
They blew
Somebody
it.
said the commodes. Wow.
Commode is old school. I don't know that the younger audience knows what a commode is, but you know people are going to be going commando to the games.
Oh God.
Oh yeah, they're gonna
It's
have.
gonna be a
They might have
thing.
some. It might be really nice to see the fans dress up like the Raiders.
Well, they used to dress up back in the
Michelle's
day like
over
the
here
Hogs.
choosing
Do y'all
violence
remember the
today.
Hogs? Those guys who used to put on wigs and dresses and pig snouts because the Redskins were the Hogs back in like the 80s. God, mom's chiming in. Next topic. We have another topic. Can we talk about Josh McCown?
Yes.
no,
go
let's
back
go back.
to
That's
Josh
what you want
McCown.
to talk
But
about.
here's
Go
my
ahead.
thing about Josh McCown. Philosophical question. Dude was an NFL quarterback, played for 87 different teams, did some time in Cleveland. What
Not as many as
qualifies
the
him to
team.
be a head coach? Like, what is the path to being a head coach? Shouldn't he be a coach somewhere doing something? An offensive
I
coordinator, a
There are
quarterback's
two different
coach.
paths.
Like,
There are
he
two
was-
different paths.
But he was teaching his kids high school. Wasn't he his kids' high school's coach? That's kind of what
Okay,
they're
yeah.
saying. And he threw his name in the hat to want to be the coach. And they took
They
it
gave him
seriously.
2 interviews. I'm not arguing.
Yes.
They gave him 2 interviews. I'm just philosophically wondering what the career path is. If I wanted to be an NFL head coach,
Yeah.
Right.
do I have to coach it? Is it I either need to be a college coach or I need to work my way up to a coordinator position in the NFL? Like, do they? I
would
can't
have to
think
do
of a
that.
head coach
You could be
who
a high school
wasn't
coach.
either already an NFL coach or a college coach.
I
They
think you
just
have to
proved
start
that
off-
you can be a high school coach and go.
You
Right.
get an
Or be
interview, but he
considered.
didn't get
You
hired.
get an interview, yeah. Well, he probably would have if it wouldn't have been for this thing, but yeah. Because I mean Lovey was already on staff. So if they was thinking about it, they hadn't even interviewed Lovey before this doggone thing. So Josh McCown is who you want. I mean, but you can get an interview. You can coach high school and get an interview to
True
coach
story.
a pro football team.
So is he going to get hired to be on the coaching staff in Houston? Is that an option for them to
I
find
wouldn't
quarterback
hire him.
coach or something?
See, that's what I'm
That's
talking
what
about.
they're saying.
So he might that might be a managers. That might
Maybe
be
they
the
making
GM
Lovey
and-
hire him as
Yes,
the quarterback
That's
coach.
what I'm saying. They're
Right.
probably
And then he
looking to
can
do that
spend
to
a
move
couple
it along.
years
Groom him.
and then take
Groom
over
him.
for Lovey at some point.
Yep. That's
Like
exactly what
Gary
all the
did
NFL
with,
experts are saying.
Garrett, with Jason Garrett.
Yep, that's what they're saying. They're saying that Lovey's he's going to take him in, and then he'll be hired. So, but of course we're going to go right. We're going to shuffle right there, because how can that happen, right? We're going to go right back into that Rooney Rule, because here it is. We got Lovey. We want McCown. We know that's a good bridge. Let him learn. Then when Lovey's ready to retire or things happen, then McCown will be up. So you already know what your kind of structure is, but now you're not going to be able to follow it because you have to fake 2 interviews.
But see,
Am I
that's
right?
that's what I don't like about this whole conversation, because that's
Yeah.
not the intent of the rule. The intent of the rule is so that people like Eric Bieniemy and DeMarcus, all of these coordinators, all of these black coordinators that you see, who don't get an opportunity. That's the rule, is just to give them an opportunity to interview for the job, not to do a fake interview, but give them an opportunity, because obviously they're qualified.
But Michelle, if you know that you want to hire this coach, I mean, this say I own this team and I want McCown. I'll be happy to interview other people, but this is who I want. This,
Yeah.
But
I
it's
mean,
not even
that's
just-
what bothers me.
It's not even just this is who you
Right?
want.
So
I'm gonna.
I'm sorry, Kate. Think about any job. They're gonna hire within, right? They're promoting
Right.
somebody within, but they have to open it up for other candidates just because they have to interview other people, even though they already know who they're gonna hire. It's the same thing. They open it up. They let other people apply. They bring in a couple of people, but this is the person who they want already. That person who was right inside. That's what they're doing. Because when you interview for jobs, that puts you on a radar for other people. When you interview for jobs, it says that you were qualified. Then that you were qualified to interview for this job. This is a person who we seriously considering for this job because of their credentials. Black coaches weren't even getting an interview. They're not saying you have to hire, but they weren't even getting an interview. And all that's saying is the people, or you're telling me that the guys who make up 80-something% of the league can only play, but they're not capable of coaching. They're not capable of leading your team. Because that's all you're saying, because that's the step. Kate, you just said McCown was a quarterback. And because he was a quarterback in the NFL, they're saying we can interview him. Now, he has no experience as a coach, but he was a quarterback. So he was a player just like all the other players. But this guy I can see leading my team. This one over here who doesn't look anything like he can only play. He can't lead my team. That's what the rule was for. The rule, it's gotten all kind of, and that's the same thing with affirmative action. We say the same thing. Well, they're giving people who are not qualified jobs. It's not that. They're qualified. They're asking you to give them an opportunity. Some of them are even more qualified. That's all. I think the owners are going to hire who they want because they're rich. Right. You can't tell rich people what to do. No. So they're going to do what they want to do. But that's the intent of the rule. That's all.
I agree with all of that.
But
all of that. But my two things are, I feel like there's a benefit to the team to do, if this is what they're doing with McCown, to bring him in as a quarterback's coach, let him learn, almost like an apprenticeship. And then maybe you move him up to offensive coordinator and he gets his experience because when I hired into my company, I was an analyst and I was a senior analyst. Now I'm a director. I want to be a VP. There's a career path that you don't see in the NFL because now the Rooney Rule interferes with that because we can't just promote from within because we have to do the interviews. The Rooney Rule was established in 2003. There were not that any head coaches of any color but white. Probably Herm Edwards with the Jets, I think, and Tony Dungy were probably the only two. But with the success they had, with the success Mike Tomlin has had, with the success a lot of these coaches have had, do you think we still need the rule? Are there certain teams, Washington football team, that are maybe only interviewing minority candidates because they have to, and the other teams are interviewing them because they're actually qualified to do the job? Like, do we still need the rule? Should the NFL revisit it? It's been 20 years. Do we still need the rule?
You asking me?
I'm asking you because I don't know that, or Sonia, I can't see her with the camera off. I don't know that Lisa and I are aware enough of what it's like to be an African American in this country and to try to get a job and what trouble you still face. I like to think that we don't have those problems anymore, but I know that we still do. From listening to my friends tell me stories.
Well, this is what I'll say. This is what I'll say. And this is not just the NFL. Every single thing that happens in this country that involves Black people elevating, they have to create a law for white people to do it. You following what I'm saying? Just go back and look at every single thing. They have to create a law to make the people who are in charge see us as candidates for anything. It's not that they're not qualified. There are plenty of people who are qualified. We know that. They're there. And you just talked about how bringing them in and letting them be a position coach. But you know how many Black coaches that are position coaches? There are plenty of them in position coaches. They never get the opportunity to take the next step. And so that's what the rule is supposed to. Now, I understand the people saying that get rid of the rule because they're not taking it seriously. And they're not taking it seriously because you can't make billionaires do. You can't tell them what to do.
Exactly.
And so
it was an epic failure.
And I think John may have said this the last time I was on, but until you get some black people who own the teams,
Yes.
and they may not hire all black coaches, because just because I'm black don't mean I'm just going to hire somebody black. But you have to have somebody there who can see those people as candidates. See, the owners now don't see them as candidates. They only see them as labor, as athletes to play and make money. They never see them as this person who comes in, Jamar Chase, one day might want to be a coach. Will I hire him? You know where Deion Sanders is coaching? It's one of the top players in football all time. Nobody will hire him.
State.
Now he's at Jackson State. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nobody wanted to hire him before then. He's at Jackson State now. Of course, not everybody wants him, but it doesn't matter if they are a Pro Bowl Hall of Fame. They can't just get a job. Right. Josh McCown can have a subpar football career, go coach high school, and get an interview for a head coach. That would never happen for a black guy. And if they do, you're saying it's because a rule made them, not because they was qualified. See, in most people's mind, I'm not saying you guys, in their mind, right. Oh, they only getting the interview because the rule tells them. No, these people are qualified. Brian Leftwich is qualified. Eric Nimi is qualified. Leslie Frazier is qualified. They're qualified for the job. They're even more qualified than some of the people who've been hired.
Yeah, but I think you're completely right. Until there are owners of color in that room, some things are not going to change. And at some point, maybe it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now, we're going to be having the same conversation about women. There's going to be a rule requiring women to get interviewed.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know if it's a rule, but they have added women to some stuff already. Mm-hmm. So, and that's another, that'll be a whole nother thing because then the two will join forces. The black and the white men will join forces. That'll be a different thing.
Yeah.
that's how we get racial equality is we turn it into a gender war instead.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, things don't happen overnight. The rule had a good intent. It's not being used in that manner.
It's not being used properly. That is exactly. Yeah.
And I think
exactly where we're going with this.
I think, again, people have to change their mindset and stop thinking that we're asking them to give us something. We're not asking them to give us anything but an opportunity because we're qualified. We've gone to the same universities. We've done all the work. We just can't get the interview or the job. That's it.
Right. And it takes something like what Brian did to say this isn't working. This isn't the rule that that was implied for. And when you wanted somebody like they wanted Dable. It was no doubt they wanted Dable. I'm just confused at how that whole thing went down because they did, from what I understand, talk to Leslie Frazier. They did talk to somebody else, and then so I don't know if they legitimately wanted to talk to Brian because they didn't have to.
It looks like they already gave the job to Dable.
Exactly.
But still scheduled the interviews to make it appear as if they were doing what the Rooney Rule wanted them to do.
And they got caught. They got caught.
Because Bill ratted them out. I don't care what anybody says. He knew who he was texting. I don't care what anybody said. He's a smart man. I think he knew who he was texting.
Yeah. The NFL at that level is a small group. Mm-hmm. And if I would be interested to see if all these minority candidates could band together. And in a situation like this, let's say in 3 years, the Texans want to hire Josh McCown and everybody knows it. And none of the minority candidates agree to interview. Then what happens? They say, you know what? We already know you want this guy. You're wasting my time. I'm going to go interview with teams that legitimately want to hire, are looking for me to hire, are going to give me an honest opportunity for this job. We know you're not because you've already picked out Josh, and none of them will interview. Then what happens?
I think some of them, a couple of them did turn down interviews because they knew that they weren't seriously going to hire them. Yeah.
That's sad.
And that's fine to do too.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's crazy.
I'd be in that room going, listen, you and I both know you're not going to hire me for head coach. You're going to you're going to take Josh, who's the offensive coordinator now. And so can I just interview for the offensive coordinator job since I'm here?
Right.
Right.
Since I'm here and we're getting along so well, can I have his job when you move him up? It would be nice if there was more of a career path outlined by the NFL.
Well,
Because then it would give some of these position coaches of color more of an opportunity to move forward. You're a position coach, then you need to be an offensive or defensive coordinator. Then you can be a head coach. If you're in college, none of this Urban Meyer crap, none of this Nick Saban crap. You can come in as a coordinator if you were a college head coach, but you cannot go college head coach to NFL head coach. You got to work your way up through the ranks.
But you got this,
I'll fix two problems at once.
It's a copycat league. So if a college coach, you got Arizona's coach, they come in, they do well. Then the rest of them want to do the same thing. They get young coaches.
Well, Kingsbury is a hot mess.
I'm just saying. Yeah,
but a lot of college,
that team won despite him.
But then you look at somebody like Mike McDonald in the Ravens. So he left to become Michigan's defensive coordinator, got his quote unquote internship, and now is back in Baltimore as a defensive coordinator. So I mean,
a lot of them are though. A lot of them do. Yeah. A lot of offensive coordinators go to coaching in college and then come back. So they kind of do their time. A lot of them do, and some of them don't. Because Nick Saban, he was in the NFL, then went to college, then came back, and then went back to college.
But again, we have billionaires, and who are we to tell them what to do? So if they want to hire a brand new
nothing beats George Washington no God dollar.
Yeah, they're gonna do it, and if he's successful, then everybody's gonna do it. When Jerry got Jimmy and Jimmy won Super Bowls, then everybody wanted to get college coaches because they were doing it, but all of them didn't pan out, right? So then they went back to what they knew. So now we're on a young coach phase. So
all right, Michelle, you want in on this? I'm gonna go buy Powerball tickets, and I'm gonna win $400 or $500 million and buy a football team.
Because I want in.
Who are we buying? Who are we gonna buy?
I don't care. Let's get the Jacksonville
Jaguars. Jaguars will probably go cheap. I'll give Shad a call.
Yeah, they will go very cheap. Let's go.
We'll take this off your hands. There's 5 women.
We got you.
We got minority ownership in here. We'll bring it all.
Look, we're going to get in trouble.
Oh, I'm surprised Dana ain't texting. I got to check my phone. You girls have been talking too long. Do you know what time it is?
Yes.
Let me know if you guys ever finish the show.
We're going to wrap it up. And I want to thank Michelle. Dana, I hope you feel better. Sonia, hopefully we'll see you next week.
Yes, I think I will. I'm going to update my computer after this, promise.
Once again, I'd like to thank Donkey's Cheesesteak, our sponsor. Please, like I said, tell them. Katie, John, Graham, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you, chatters.
Love you guys in the chat.
Nice shirt, Lisa.
I know. I saw that.
One day
I know. It's coming. I got to mail these girls their shirts. I'm unpacking slowly but surely. I promise.
It's a running joke, you guys.
It's a running joke. I will get it.
Wait, did anybody pick the Rams?
Sonia
did.
So that means they're probably going to lose, but still.
Should be the only one that's right, but it's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
Look, once I look at McVay on the sideline, I'm going to switch out. Peace.
Okay. Peace, guys.
Night, guys.
Good night.
Y'all